Science is the great antidote to the poison of enthusiasm and superstition. Civil government, so far as it is instituted for the security of property, is in reality instituted for the defense of the rich against the poor, or of those who have some property against those who have none at all. The first thing you have to know is yourself. A man who knows himself can step outside himself and watch his own reactions like an observer. Never complain of that of which it is at all times in your power to rid yourself. Mercy to the guilty is cruelty to the innocent. No society can surely be flourishing and happy of which by far the greater part of the numbers are poor and miserable. It is not very unreasonable that the rich should contribute to the public expense, not only in proportion to their revenue, but something more than in that proportion. People of the same trade seldom meet together, even for merriment and diversion, but the conversation ends in a conspiracy against the public, or in some contrivance to raise prices. Virtue is more to be feared than vice, because its excesses are not subject to the regulation of conscience. Individual ambition serves the common good. Wherever there is great property, there is great inequality. Every man lives by exchanging. Man is an animal that makes bargains. No other animal does this. No dog exchanges bones with another. All for ourselves and nothing for other people seems, in every age of the world, to have been the vile maxim of the masters of mankind. Problems worthy of attacks prove their worth by hitting back. The learned ignore the evidence of their senses to preserve the coherence of the ideas of their imagination. It is not from the benevolence of the butcher, the brewer, or the baker that we expect our dinner, but from their regard to their own interest. What is prudence in the conduct of every private family can scarce be folly in that of a great kingdom. The subjects of every state ought to contribute towards the support of the government, as nearly as possible, in proportion to their respective abilities. Man naturally desires not only to be loved, but to be lovely. There is no art which one government sooner learns of another than that of draining money from the pockets of the people. We are but one of the multitude, in no respect better than any other in it. Consumption is the sole end and purpose of all production, the great source of both the misery and disorders of human life seems to arise from overrating the difference between one permanent situation and another. The poor man's son, whom heaven has in its anger visited with ambition, goes beyond admiration of palaces to envy. He labors all his life to outdo his competitors, only to find the end that the rich are no happier than the poor in the things that really matter. The prudent man always studies seriously and earnestly to understand whatever he professes to understand, and not merely to persuade other people that he understands it. And though his talents may not always be very brilliant, they are always perfectly genuine. There is a great deal of ruin in a nation. Hatred and anger are the greatest poison to the happiness of a good mind. The furious behavior of an angry man is more likely to exasperate us against himself than against his enemies. In ease of body and peace of mind, all the different ranks of life are nearly upon the same level, and the beggar who suns himself by the highway possesses that security which kings are fighting for. The man who indulges us in this natural passion, who invites us into his heart, who, as it were, sets open the gates of his breast to us, seems to exercise a species of hospitality more delightful than any other. A nation is not made wealthy by the childish accumulation of shiny metals, but it enriched by the economic prosperity of its people. The division of labor, however, so far as it can be introduced, occasions, in every art, a proportionable increase of the productive powers of labor. The profligacy of a man of fashion is looked upon with much less contempt and aversion than that of a man of meaner condition. The great secret of education is to direct vanity to proper objects. To superficial minds, the vices of the great seem at all times agreeable. How selfish soever man may be supposed, there are evidently some principles in his nature which interest him in the fortune of others, and render their happiness necessary to him, though he derives nothing from it except the pleasure of seeing it. I am always willing to run some hazard of being tedious, in order to be sure that I am perspicuous, and, after taking the utmost pains that I can to be perspicuous, some obscurity may still appear to remain upon a subject, in its own nature extremely abstracted. In the common degree of the moral, there is no virtue. Virtue is excellence. It is not from the benevolence of the butcher, the brewer, or the baker that we expect our dinner, but from their regard to their own self-interest. I am a beau only in my books. Every man, as long as he does not violate the laws of justice, is left perfectly free to pursue his own interest his own way, and to bring both his industry and capital into competition with those of any other man, or order of men. No society can flourish of which the greater part is poor and miserable. The wages of labor are the encouragement of industry, which, like every other human quality, improves in proportion to the encouragement it receives.